Hey guys, Flippin' Landlord Ninja here.
Kevin the Property Prince.
And we are Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
Two Guys Take on Real Estate.
So today we're going to talk about a little bit more about a deal that we had that we did with that was a wholesale deal.
Well, it was definitely a wholesale deal, and let me tell you, this is a great example for people asking us on our channel about how do you find these properties, where do you find distressed properties, etc.
Yep. And we're going to talk about two different avenues this wholesale deal could have taken. One where we could have made a nice quick $15,000, or if you stay all the way to the very end, how we actually made $70,000 on this wholesale deal.
That's pretty impressive. That's wow. All right, I'm pretty impressed with myself now that we're hearing about it.
So like always, we're here to pay it forward so you guys can learn from our mistakes and not have to make the same ones.
Absolutely. So again, this channel is all about helping everyone else find success, and we get so much feedback from so many of our followers asking, just where do you come across these things? There's no houses like that in my area. You can't find these deals. I want to learn how to find them, right? Is that what you hear that all the time?
I hear that all the time. We were just on live earlier on our TikTok live, and that's what people are asking.
Yeah. So this is a great example of how you can find these properties. And what I usually say when people ask me that is, what do I say? Say they're everywhere. You're driving right by them.
Yep.
And this is basically where you have to learn to train your brain a little bit.
Yeah, train your brain. I agree with that. That's definitely something. It's tuning into it, as you say.
Tuning into real estate. And that means following channels like ours, watching these videos, getting excited about it, and talking about all the different aspects of real estate out there. So in this case, how did I stumble across this?
Well, I think you're better to tell that story. Come on. You're the one who found this deal. He found this deal. So thank you, Kevin.
All by myself. Yeah. This one worked out great. I was literally just out driving to go get a cup of coffee. I was either on my way to Dunks or Starbucks, one of those kind of joints, you know.
So this would be called what, Kevin?
Driving for coffee?
Driving for coffee. Also known as Driving for Dollars, which we have a YouTube video right up here. Follow that link.
Yep. Now, hopefully we put the link there. And
I'll make sure he puts the link there.
So basically, this was a great example of driving for dollars. And when I tell people, guys, you're driving by these things on a daily basis, this is what I'm talking about. I literally was just driving out for a cup of coffee, and I drove by a house. And as I slowed down, maybe for traffic or a stoplight or something, I happened to notice that there was really, really tall grass just on the side of the
Really?
Yeah.
Why does that matter?
Well, I mean, it looked like a safari over there. Why that matters is that, well, again, being tuned in and having my brain trained to real estate, I thought, wow, that person's not keeping up their property. I wonder if they're even using their property.
Okay.
And so that's just what caught my attention. And of course, when you turn and look anywhere closer and now that you've noticed the property, you look at the house, and the house is just a train wreck. I mean, you saw the house.
It's pretty bad.
Train wreck is a good word to describe it.
Yeah. We'll show a picture right here. Look at that property.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Hopefully we got some pictures up here looking at that house. I mean, it needed a roof. Flaking paint everywhere.
Windows.
Windows, everything.
There's a tub.
In the floor.
There you go.
A claw tub, not like a nice claw tub that you'd normally see, set up on the floor. It's recessed down in the floor with a plywood hatch flap.
It wasn't a hatch. It was just thrown on top of it.
It was freaking weird. But anyway, so what I noticed as I'm driving down the street is overgrown lawn. And I mean, not like 6 inches overgrown. We're talking like a couple of feet overgrown lawn. That drew my attention to the property itself, the house itself, which I quickly could determine, everything was wrong with it.
Yep. Distressed property.
And not being in a hurry, right? And being tuned into this stuff, I immediately recognized opportunity. So I put my blinker on, just pulled into the dude's driveway like I own the place. Just like I'm going to go knock on somebody's door and say hello or ask somebody a question. I pulled right in and, again, easily able to see the house much more closely. You see the house that just needs all the work in the world. So this is clearly a not livable property. This is clearly a distressed, rundown property.
So it's abandoned.
Oh, it's not lived in. It's abandoned. Absolutely. I went up to knock on the door like you would anywhere else. You would go approach a house. And, first thing is noticing that the porch, there really isn't much of a porch anymore.
Right.
But you go to knock on the door, there's no window coverings, and you can clearly see the house has been gutted and it's not even close to livable.
All right.
So great indication of somebody who owns a property, right? And they're clearly having to pay taxes because they own it.
Yep.
They have to deal with snow removal for the sidewalks in the wintertime, landscaping, which they're clearly not doing. And if they're not doing these things, what's happening? What's the city doing to them?
Well, often they're finding you, code enforcement, because your neighbors are yelling at you about that property or their property.
Absolutely.
And they're saying all of a sudden they're getting a $100 fine. Now it's getting tacked on again and
Sure
again
thing.
and again. And maybe it has to be thrown into court. And then they're going to potentially become a receivership, which if you watch this video about receiverships, You'll learn more.
It's up there somewhere. So we know that this guy, owner, whoever it is, it must have to be paying taxes or should be paying taxes. They're dealing with headaches from having to keep up a lawn and sidewalk. Maybe they're dealing with fines or lawsuits as a result of not doing those things. Maybe they're dealing with angry calls from a neighbor who clearly does not like living next to this rundown, blighted property. So maybe the owner of this property is experiencing a lot of pain. Now, there could be a lot of things that we talk on our other videos about wholesaling and everything like that, about who the owner might be and all these other things. But the bottom line is, I saw this in person, in real time. I put my blinker on, stopped, pulled in the driveway to do something about it and investigate. And the next thing I did is I pull out my phone, boom, real quick. Within 30 seconds, I know who the owner of the property is.
How the heck did you do that?
It's all public information. This stuff's really, really easy to do. You can look it right up on your city assessor's database. You can even pull up the registry of deeds electronically and see the deeds, see the property change hands, when this person bought it, if they have a mortgage, that kind of a thing, or the purchase price. So you can get a pretty good feel for what they might have bought the property for and when.
Okay.
So the next thing after that, going through our steps of wholesale, is which you've seen hopefully our video already, but this is a great example of driving for dollars. I executed the steps all very quickly. These are things that happen within 5 to 10 minutes.
Yep.
See the property, pull into the property, approach the property, look up the owner's information, all these things very quick here.
Well, the next step is if you got to actually contact the owner. So yeah, maybe you have an address or something like that, but also if you want to check out truepeoplesearch.com or other property. Oh my God.
Skip trace type.
Skip trace sites like that. Yep.
Basically, you're looking up, and it's usually a paid program or paid fee, a small fee, to try to track down somebody's relevant contact information. Right. Now, this is where I get the most frustrated as a person, because I get a bunch of phone numbers or addresses or whatever, and they are dead. They're out of service. The numbers don't work. You can't get through. They don't answer numbers they don't recognize. So it becomes very frustrating. In my case, I guess you'll say I caught a lucky break where I dialed one of the numbers and the number connected and somebody answered the phone. Yeah, so I got to the right person, which is itself not a small thing. But again, we're talking from when I saw tall grass to when I'm speaking to the owner of the property, a 10-minute span of time, and it cost me maybe a couple of bucks worth of an online search to get this information. So amazing.
And so, like I said, truepeoplesearch.com, if it works well, that actually is free.
Right. Oh, perfect.
So, sometimes you can even do it for free.
Yeah, there's going to be some access to free stuff too. But again, contacting the person is always very challenging. So what happens next? Well, I had a conversation with them. And so sure enough, again, everybody's going to have a different backstory on their distressed or abandoned property.
Yep.
The backstory is not as relevant here. But the bottom line was, in this case, this was a property that somebody bought. They were intending to flip it. So they bought a distressed, rundown property themselves. We can talk about the numbers, I guess. They bought it originally. They purchased it themselves for $80,000 about almost 2 years prior. So now they've had this house for almost 2 years. They clearly didn't do anything with it because it's still in horrible shape.
Right.
They've been paying taxes on it for 2 years, dealing with upkeep or fines if they're not dealing with the upkeep on it.
Might even have insurance on it.
Probably paying some kind of holding costs in general, right? So overall, my conversation with them, led me to understand that they were never able to flip it or do anything with it. And they probably didn't really have a good game plan going forward to really deal with the property. So they didn't have a good solution in place, or really, any way to unload or realize any value out of this house. So my conversation continued. I sniffed out that they were experiencing some pain. They had a lot of holding costs over 2 years. This could go on another 2 years.
Yep.
And quite frankly, the house doesn't magically improve the longer it sits in rundown condition.
Yep.
If a roof is shot, what generally happens the longer a roof sits being shot?
The property actually takes on water and starts getting worse inside. You might have mold. You can all of a sudden everything starts rotting. It can be very bad.
Fair to say then, when I mentioned to the owner that the longer this distressed property sits in bad shape, the lower the value gets.
Correct.
Right.
So what you have to do is you got to figure out a solution that works for them and for you.
Absolutely. But I also want to get into the house and look around. Remember, I'm on this guy's porch trying not to fall through it and having a conversation with him about his property. And I said, hey, listen, I'm serious about doing this stuff. This is what I do. I do buy properties for a living. Now, if you're a wholesaler, you can phrase these kind of conversations a couple of different ways. It's up to you how you want to set the tone for this. You might say, I represent buyers, that are looking for their next flip projects.
Correct.
You might be a flipper. You might say, listen, I'm looking to buy this project myself to flip it or do something with it myself. But in my case here, I let him know that I was serious about buying it. I have cash to buy a property. I could make him a cash offer and close on the property in a week or two and have this thing not be a problem for him. It'd be right out of his hair.
Yep.
That's a hair joke.
Wow.
Right out of this guy's hair. So essentially, he liked that idea and agreed to let me into the property and do a quick walkthrough. So this whole thing took 15 minutes at this point. I then met him the next day. We did a quick walkthrough of the property. Why was the walkthrough so quick at this property?
Why? Because there's not much to the property for anything.
You're not doing a full house inspection. The house sucks. It needs everything. You know that it's in bad shape. You don't need to hire inspectors. This does not need to be this big, massive walkthrough.
No, I mean, once again, you're more than welcome to, but in this case, the property's so run down, you know it needs everything. You're going to just make sure that it's actually standing, it actually is a property, and that there's not anything crazy unknown that you don't know.
Right, the unknown stuff. I mean, you know it needs everything, but maybe it has an underground oil tank. That's something.
That's a big one, exactly.
Maybe it's got asbestos like material.
Yep.
Maybe it's got knob and tube wiring. These are the kind of high ticket items you want to know for yourself.
Yep. Good point.
But we're talking 10 minutes to do a quick walkthrough and notice
if that.
Yeah. So so that's really where we went. We did a quick walkthrough the next day. It took about 10 minutes, and of course, I'm a serious buyer and I'm ready to make a deal happen. I knew on my phone conversation with him prior that he's ready to sell the property if we can come up on an agreeable, fair deal on this home. And so, of course, I brought my contracts with me and some cash.
Yeah. And we'll actually have copies of contracts that you can actually see in the link below. And this way you can actually have them looked at by your lawyer just to kind of modify them to your area.
Yeah, make sure they pass all your state and local rules, all that kind of stuff. But I brought my contracts ready with me. I brought some cash with me. Now, how much cash do I need to bring with me for these kind of things?
I mean, well, we talked about before, $10, anything, any kind of form of consideration. Heck, here's my watch.
Oh.
That's form of consideration.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I'll take a men's watch, please. So basically, that's exactly right. I had about $100 in cash that I brought with me just for this, so that I could, if we did our walkthrough and we could negotiate, now a matter of just simply talking numbers, work a deal. I then take a contract, fill it all out right there, take my $100, put it with the contract, and take a photograph of it.
Exactly.
Why do I do that?
Well, why? Just to document it and make sure that it's actually all.
Basically, just exactly right. Document it. I mean, he 100% hit it on the head. You're basically making sure that there's a photograph showing that the money was there. It did change hands. Everything was signed. It's kind of like a receipt for both parties. And it helps people prevent a situation where they change their mind shortly after, back out of a deal, or try to back out of a deal because one party has remorse over their decision. So that's basically what happened. We did a walkthrough. We went back and forth on the price. And of course, I was willing to buy it at the price I bought it at, but of course I offered him a lower price.
And so how much did you offer, and then how much did we end up buying it?
I think we ended up originally offering probably closer to 50-ish.
Okay.
Which, again,
that would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been great. It would have been great. But, at $50,000, they had, like I said, they spent about $80 on it originally.
Right.
And they knew that it was no longer worth $80. And I did a great job of making sure, very politely and professionally, that if they thought it was worth $80 2 years ago and it just sat and got worse, how much would they feel is a fair number for what it's worth now? And that's a great way to position that.
Right, I agree. Yep. And honestly, if they kept holding on to it, how much is that cost? Just the holding cost eating away at
Absolutely. If they're going to pay maybe $5,000 a year in taxes and upkeep of the property, they're going to hold on to it. So I ended up settling up with him at $70,000. So maybe he got the better of me in those negotiations. I don't know. But of course, because I'm not going to agree to something verbally that I'm not ready to back up and execute, I have my contracts with me. So we went back and forth, said $70,000. We shook on it. I said, give me 1 second. I pulled out my contracts and filled it out right there on the hood of my car. Yep. And he signed it. We took the picture of the contract, etc. That essentially is where you can now make kind of a split, right, and go a couple of different ways. But you've done the main part of the wholesale. You've now acquired a property and, not acquired it, but you got it under contract. Right. You've it locked in. You have the rights to buy this property. Now, my contract also allows me to have the right to assign the contract to someone else that will take it into their name if I choose not to take it into mine.
Right.
And so that's where you could now, under contract for $70, you could go to your buyer's list, flippers out there, of home investors.
Talk to Facebook groups, stuff like that. You can find a whole bunch of people that you could actually look to buy the property. So many people right now are actually looking for property. I just got a text message from this guy. He's saying, hey, do you have any properties for me to buy? I'm looking. I just finished my recent flip. I need another property.
Right. So literally, I'm into this now for 30 minutes worth of my time and $100 out of pocket, all because I was paying attention while I was driving, not to just the other cool cars that are on the road and around that, but to the lawns that I happened to drive by as I saw. When I saw a lawn that was 6 feet high, that sparked my interest. I looked at the rest of the property and saw it was a train wreck.
And yeah, we could easily now take a contract that he said, assign it to this other, like the guy that just texted me. We could assign it for him, and I guarantee we could assign it for $85,000, maybe even $90,000, and make a nice quick $15,000 or $20,000.
Absolutely right. We could respond to that text saying, wow, great news. You know what just happened? We actually just got a house under contract that I think would be perfect for what you're looking for. Here are the numbers of how it works out. You can acquire it for $90,000. It needs, $80,000 worth of rehab, and it'll be worth $220,000 when you're done. I don't know. I threw those numbers together.
I was going to say, I think it's quite a bit more. But
probably more.
Yeah.
So the bottom line is that guy would want to look into this a little bit himself, but he's ready to go. And you would assign that contract over, make yourself a quick $20,000 in this case.
Correct.
Now, that's not the route we chose to go. We could have absolutely gone that way. Most wholesalers would do that. Again, they're only coming out of pocket that small, tiny down payment money.
Correct.
And they're going to make themselves a good chunk of money. We just did a live stream with somebody, and they popped on our live chat saying, thank you guys. I just did my first wholesale deal, and I made $15,000 this past month.
That's awesome.
Absolutely great to hear. So this stuff does happen, and it can happen if you're tuned in. What did we do instead? We didn't assign the contract. We took ownership, right?
So we actually had some money, and so essentially we assigned the contract to ourselves and bought it ourselves. So we bought the property. We went through the property and kind of created a good scope and idea of what's going on, trashed it out, got rid of it, swept it, nothing crazy.
Cleaned it up a little bit.
Cleaned it up, cut down to the grass, did very minimal, and then said, let's sit on it. Let's see what the market will bear.
Absolutely.
So we popped it up on the MLS. And kind of a crazy price. I think it was like $160.
Right.
And so we said, let's see what happens. And then when we just sat and waited.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a couple of offers, a couple of lowball offers came in. Lowball being $100,000 offers, by the way. Guys.
Exactly.
That's a $30,000 profit, and we just called it lowball. But that's exactly right. We got a couple of lowball offers in on it. We let the market work itself out.
Yep.
And we found that the market had a value to this property where we got a buyer under contract. And, well, I think Matt gave it away a little bit at the beginning. But how much did they agree to buy the property for?
$140,000.
Somebody approached us and offered us $140,000, and we snapped that right up. So Absolutely amazing. Maybe I can write off the cup of coffee that I never got to that day, but now I can celebrate. Probably that'll buy me coffee all year.
Well, I just want to straight. The person who bought it, they're a seasoned flipper.
Absolutely
They actually
right.
bought 2 or 3 properties from us. They've also bought properties prior to that and flipped them. So this is someone that knows the market, that knows that. So they know they're going to make some good money. So it's a win-win for them. And it's a win for us.
And 100% right. And they approached us about it. And we're going to help support them through the process, which is a great add-on to the wholesale process where you can help your flippers become as successful as possible. Why is that important?
Why? Repeat customers.
Repeat customers. If they're doing a great job flipping properties and making money, they're going to start buying more property. And once they've had 2 or 3 or 4 successful flips, maybe they start taking them on 2 at a time now and expanding and scaling their business. All that leads to financial success for you if you're doing it right. And them, absolutely. Everybody wins. So that's exactly how this thing turned out. We decided to, instead of just doing a quick assignment of the contract and making some good, quick money, we decided to hang on to the property for a little while, let the market work in our advantage. And we decided to then take an offer that was made to us for $140,000, and we sold the property to that person, making us a huge, very, very nice, tidy profit.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Now, this is what people ask me all the time. Where do you find these deals? How do you find these things? What list do you buy? What network do you go on?
You don't need to buy a list. I mean, it's as simple as Kevin just driving for coffee.
Yep, absolutely. Dropping some kids off, at an appointment, on your way to or from work. There's 2 awesome properties that are between my office and my home that I keep driving by every day. And I don't see houses anymore. I just see a big bag with a $sign on it. And that's what I think of these things as I drive by them now. So it can get very addicting to go out. And then pretty soon you're going to find reasons to have to go out for a drive, I think, right?
I think, yeah, definitely.
So we hope you found that very, very helpful. We hope you found that informative and motivating. And most importantly, we hope you follow and subscribe to our channel.
Exactly. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell because we are trying to put out videos every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you want to know when those will come out, you can get those and keep educated.
We've been having so many people asking us about these and all these other topics on our real estate channels here on YouTube as well as TikTok. We're going to keep making these videos
Yes, we are.
and keep helping you find success.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Best of luck, everyone.